But I found this interesting article from the Hollywood Reporter, an intimacy coordinator's take on that awkward "It Ends With Us" video. So just to give some backstory, there's a big battle between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. Justin thinks that Blake stole his movie. He's the producer, he's the director of the movie. And when it was all said and done, Blake came in, took everything, edited the film herself, and that's what was presented in the theaters. Baldoni and his crew were kicked out of the editing bay. We're not allowed to have any influence or say in the final product. And beyond that, Blake then started laying out sexual abuse allegations against Baldoni, of which now Baldoni is suing her and Ryan Reynolds for defamation for, I believe, $400 million, something like that. He got his movie taken away. And so there's been all this word coming back that she says that he was sexually abusing her, and that he responded by unleashing all the texts, all the communications behind the scenes to say that, that things were on the up and up. And a specific video came out which just showed there's a scene in the movie where the lead characters Baldoni and Lively are dancing at a bar or a club. And as you know, it's a scene where the two lose themselves in the world, and they begin kissing. And Lively claims, Baldoni says that this, this is the extent of which, you needed the intimacy coordinator. And Lively said, well, the kissing was improvised, was not agreed upon, and that she felt that this may have crossed the line. And so so Hollywood Reporter hires an intimacy coordinator to look at that video and respond to it. So the reason I want to read this is we've talked about intimacy coordinators. Here's one to talk about her role and why she feels her role is important. The nearly 10-minute video shot in May of 2023 shows 3 takes of a scene in which It Ends With Us, which is based on the 2016 Colleen Hoover novel, when Lively and Baldoni's character Lily and Ryle are beginning their romance. The script excerpts that flashes on the screen at the start of the video reads, exterior bar, night. Lily and Ryle slow dance at the bar. The patrons around them drinking and watching sports completely in their own world. Hollywood Reporter asked Mia Schlatter, an intimacy coordinator who worked on Lessons in Chemistry in Secure American Crime Story, watched the footage and shared her thoughts. What stands out to you as an intimacy coordinator when you watch these scenes? Mia says, the first thing is that he is trying to kiss her, and they clearly haven't discussed that ahead of time. And she keeps pulling away and clearly doesn't want to do that. Normally, when you are going to shoot a scene where characters are kissing, would you discuss that beforehand? An intimacy coordinator would, but there's 2 major reasons why people bring on an intimacy coordinator: either simulated sex or nudity. Anything else would be considered intimate, or not always present or required. In a scene like this, it's really common that you wouldn't bring on an intimacy coordinator because there's no simulated sex or nudity, and there's not even kissing written in the scene. We saw that from the script excerpt. I know that there were 2 intimacy coordinators credited on the film, but it doesn't surprise me at all that they wouldn't have had an intimacy coordinator present on the scene. An intimacy coordinator would have been very clear. We're not doing any kissing. Would have been very clear. We're not doing any kissing. This is the kind of touch that is on the table, nothing else. We're not going to bring anything else in the scene that we haven't discussed prior. That's what an intimacy coordinator would do. What do you think of the power dynamic between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni in this scene? Even though she's Blake Lively and can say no, it isn't going to be fired for speaking her mind the way that someone else might fear. She still has to keep working with him and keep the peace and play nice. I can't see her trying to stay lighthearted and in good spirits about it, and not upset with him in any way, and not waste anybody's time. But of course, she's trapped between a rock and a hard place. I can see her appeasing him, trying to keep a smile on her face. In terms of the hierarchy on set, he's in charge, but it can be very murky. Obviously, she's a star, the household name on the project. I didn't know who he was until this movie, but I have known who she was for many years, and she's not powerless. I would say she had significant amount of power here, but regardless, he is a director, and she is supposed to take direction from him. I would support. I would sort of surprise. I was sort of surprised that this is the clip the team leaked. Yeah, what are your thoughts? There's a lot here.
It's a lot. The problem is, man, there's so much like he said, she said, but from what I've been gathering, and I haven't done like a deep dive on this, I know Steph from My Nerdy Home is doing like a very deep dive. You guys should probably have her on the show actually, because she knows the ins and outs of this. But everything I've been hearing on my end is he is in the right. That he's being set up. Like that's just from what I'm hearing on my end. Like I've been hearing that. Yeah, Blake Lively isn't a good person, man. Like and you know, that's always hearsay. We don't know for sure because we don't know these people, right? But I've heard enough about Ryan Reynolds on set. I've heard enough about Blake Lively on set. I haven't heard anything about this guy on set, right? And I've heard of him before this movie, so.
I think from what I understand is that he leaked a lot of communications behind the scenes to
it sounds like he has receipts, man.
Yeah, and that he is a genuinely nice person, and that he went out of his way to there's a report of how to him the intimacy coordinators were so important in this. And that,
like, I've already, even on YouTube, I've already seen like about 5 or 6 videos that are calling her, you know, Amber Heard 2.0, you know. It might be that kind of situation we're looking at where this whole thing is going to backfire on her and Ryan Reynolds, man.
Yeah.
I mean, will Ryan Reynolds' career suffer? No. Her career, probably.
It might. I mean, it depends if Ryan Reynolds has to take the stand. He's going to get questioned pretty hard. And when you think back as to what happened to T.J. Miller in the first Deadpool movie, the stories of Ryan Reynolds being this kind of monster, it becomes more credible. The scene that they referred to from I watched the Megyn Kelly thing about this when Megyn Kelly interviewed the lawyer who is helping Justin Baldoni sue Blake Lively, but the implication was that Blake didn't care about getting there were meetings with intimacy coordinators that Blake didn't want to attend for scheduling reasons or whatever, didn't feel like it was important to her. And as a result, that video of them kissing, the improvised kiss, happened because and you know, I think the way they're saying is that you know, is that the only thing? Because it goes on to state that the scenes where they actually need the intimacy coordinators, that it was pretty much above board, and it wasn't necessarily about sex. It was about her giving birth to their daughter in you know, one of those natural births, and that's where, because she was practically naked in that scene,
right.
The intimacy core. So it was a scene where there was no romance involved and no touching that would be considered questionable.
But I think the thing that we should probably focus on and go back to is something like, you know, you said at the beginning of this, right? Like, this is speculation is that she's trying to steal this guy's movie, right? So what are the specifics of that, right? So they're both producers on the film. Is that correct?
Yeah. I believe when she was signed on, she was given a little bit of power with the producer credit, and she may have exploited that. But
it's his movie. He wrote it, directed the whole thing.
Yeah, she came onto the project when she was cast to play the lead role. Let's put it that way. He's the one who got the rights, who produced the movie, got the funding, got, you know, basically ran all the line producers who put it all together, and that she became a producer once she was cast in the film.
But she wants to say it's her movie.
Yeah, and that's when the editing thing came in, where she decided just to kick everyone out, produce her own edit, and when presented with the two edits to the distributors went with Blake Lively's edit.
Of course they did.
Yeah, and then, you know, lastly, Baldoni's team sees this clip as vindicating him. This intimacy coordinator says, right, I see the opposite. When someone has Lively's level of fame and recognition, they do have a certain amount of power, but there's always an actor-director relationship, and the director is in charge. I feel like this intimacy coordinator wants to keep working. Which to me, reading this, I'm fairly mixed when it comes to intimacy coordinators. For me, I think there's been so much abuse in the past that the idea of an actress who has to come into a movie to have a sex scene or to have a scene that requires a great deal of nudity, I think that actress has every right in the world to know exactly what's going to happen on set, know what's going to be expected of her in the scene, and to know what is required of her in terms of exposing herself. I think an actress has a 100% right to know exactly what's going to happen.
Oh, I totally agree. I have no problem with that, man. And I think we've been around long enough that we've seen, misuse. We've seen look, Harvey Weinstein isn't the only monster in Hollywood, guys.
Yeah,
he's just not. So he is a monster, but he's not the only one.
Yeah, and what's the problem with this situation is here's a guy who appears to have gone above and beyond when it comes to intimacy coordinators, and this is what he gets for it, for all this effort, which is where good intentions turns into something wrong.
Well, this is the equivalent of like look, to my knowledge, I'm not saying I know all the facts, but it feels like when a woman cries abuse and she's not really being abused, or falsely accuses a guy of grape or something, right? It kind of reeks of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it seems like she wants something else and is using a moment, a time in which she felt insecure, and to say, oh, okay, I was SA'd.
But that's even if she had good intentions, man. I think the fact that if she's trying to steal this guy's movie, then this was all made up.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Again, all is alleged, and we'll see it when it comes to court. I think the problem where intimacy coordinators began ruining things was they felt like it talks about here when they started kissing, the intimacy coordinator should have just stepped in and said, "All right, stop. This was never." The intimacy coordinator, I'm assuming it's a woman, but they become kind of the cop on set. And there have been reports where intimacy coordinators, when they go over the script and the scene, they've encouraged actors to quote unquote rewrite the scene so that they're not, to take the sex scene and water it down. And that becomes awkward when that happens on set, because they all agreed to it beforehand.
Right.
And now we're making changes at the last minute.